Hello everybody, this is John and I will be doing another tutorial on Sculptris. Now my previous tutorial, if you look in my videos, it was on texturing. I will be detailing a little bit more in the new Sculptris Alpha 6. It has been out for a while, but I decided to do another tutorial. Now we have the default sphere. It has 2048 triangles. We will be detailing on the basics of Sculptris and then going into modeling and texturing and then importing and exporting. I use Sculptris on several Android games, and we will be going into that on converting a high poly mesh into a low poly mesh and so forth. But today, the basics. Now, on the modeling screen, when you pop it up with the default sphere, we have our crease, which will, and I'll take wireframe off, which will crease the actual object. Now, this is great if you would like to create ridges in something. You can also lower the detail, or lower the detail of it. That means, does it populate more triangles as I put wireframe back on? Will it just extrude the already there triangles? Or if I put it up on high, will it populate more? And as you can see, we just hit over 13,438 triangles pretty easily. Now I'm going to undo this so my computer doesn't freeze. And then we're going to do some more. We can easily get up to 20, 80,000. And we're going to set a new sphere. Yes. So okay, we're now going to go on to rotate. This is great for rotating an object. It does get a bit tricky. You can also hold down your middle mouse button and shift and move it around. And then you have your scale, in which you can scale something up and then scale something down. Next is the draw, and with draw we will introduce our sizing. Now this is the size to increase your brush, or maybe you want to zoom in. Now I'm using the middle mouse button and I'm zooming in, and I can create tiny little stuff. Now we're up to 32,218 triangles. Now that can be a lot. And also the strength. Do you want it to be super strong? Now I'm going to take off symmetry, because then it's mimicking it on both sides. We just want it to be a one-way thing. And I'm going to set a new scene. Take off symmetry. And with this is the strength. This is size of your brush. You can also dictate what type of brush. Okay, so you can also create your own brushes in this program, which we will do later on in the next tutorial. So basically what you would do is you would take an art program, as we will do in the next tutorial, and create your brush, and then you can then edit it in a very specific way. Now you can also do materials to how you want it to look. You can do normal mapping, what I call a chrome droplet, and a very nice little blue droplet. So when you actually model something, it looks very nice. We're gonna undo those. Okay, the next is to flatten. Now this is very cool and very interesting. You will quickly just it will flatten stuff. It's very powerful. You probably want to decrease the detail a little bit until you get comfortable. I've used this a whole lot when doing mountain ridges on games, and it does work, so you have to be careful with that one. Inflate. This will literally inflate a area. This is great for slowly modeling an area. And we're going to put this back. Okay, cancel. We don't want to paint it yet. We want to go to regular. And this is slowly editing something. I use this for high poly meshes when I'm doing. I'll take a important OBJ of a base mesh, and I will slowly create everything, usually with this. And it gives you a nice little detail. Then we have pinch. We can pinch objects into order. And it just slightly increases stuff. You probably want to increase strength a little bit just to see something. Here, one moment. I haven't really found a whole lot of use for it, but I'm sure one of you guys will. And then we have smooth, where we will actually smooth stuff. Now I use this a lot when smoothing out mountain ridges that have gone too pointy. But I will actually put strength on pretty low and slowly do it, because it will flatten stuff. Next, we have Reduce Brush. Now this is one of my most favorite programs for taking a high poly mesh and very, very slowly, depending on the actual object. I'll take one of my high poly map meshes, which I was going to use for a PC game, and show you how I can use the same map, just low poly it for an Android video game. Now I will take a strength up, and I will actually make this a low poly cube. Now what I like how they added the brush in, because you can actually choose which vertices and triangles you want gone, and so forth. Or if you have so many that you don't really care how many you lose at that particular point until you get to a closer number, we will take the reduce brush, and we will constantly click it. Now if you look down at the number down here below, you can see we're at 1774, but if we keep clicking it, we will go down. We were at 1774, now we're at 236. Now if we keep clicking it, we can hit 86. And now we're at 0. So it's a very useful tool. And then we can hit a subdivide to get back up to what we were. Now we're at 22,000. I'm going to bump it down, and we're at 344. Now a mask, I've never played around with the masking tool. I never found any really use for it. I think it's to realign stuff, but I actually have to relook that up because I've never found any use for it. Wireframe, I always have 99% of the time wireframe on unless I'm actually looking at the object to see how it looks. But I will always have wireframe on, and it's a nice useful tool. Now symmetry is so that you can create stuff on one way and it will create it on the other. For example, if I draw, it will create it on both. Now this is very useful if you're doing a low poly human or even a high poly human. You're doing it on both sides at the same time. The only thing I suggest is that you have a decent computer while you're doing this, or else you will instantly freeze your computer. Now we will have new sphere. You can either add the object, as sometimes what I do on maps, I will instantly I will model a geography, and then I will, and you can also click on them, which is very helpful. You can actually model one. I'll model that one, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this one, and then I'm going to model this one. So it's very helpful when you're creating a map, and you add in another plane and then another plane. Well, I mean, my plane is that you can have a sphere or a plane. Let's do a new scene. Since will be lost, that's fine with me. And so what I will do is that I will model a little, something really dumb right here. You got two little hills or small mountain ridges, and then you have a road right here. Well, if I want to continue it, I will hit Shift, middle mouse button, drag it away. I will then hit New Plane, not New Scene, cancel. New Plane, add Object, and then I will just place it right there. Then I will hit Size Up, and then I can also move it using the grab function, and I can slowly, this is kind of a pain though, but I can slowly move it to where it's almost where I want it, and then I can continue modeling, then click on here, grab that, and continue modeling. Now, you do have some errors, like right here, we have a problem with this, so you have to take your time and make sure that, the person playing a video game or modeling it or whatever, you can't see the gaps unless it's in an area to where, they can't get to. Okay, next, it's an import and an OBJ. You can import an object. Be careful though, if they're super high poly and your computer can't handle it, or they have too many triangles, or line vertices, it will not import and it'll say error. Also, export. Now, I've had some problems with Sculptris exporting. I finally fixed it. I think it just was a bug fix, and it, fixed itself. So you can't export an OBJ, which is very nice. You can also save it and open it, and then go to a GoZ, which I know it is, but I don't have it on the top of my head. Now, our next for tutorial is options. Read over this very, very carefully. I usually keep everything default except for the unified tool settings, size and pressure, strength, pressure. Let's take a look at this. Is what I have it on. Okay, now we're going to go to paint, but I'm going to go back to a sphere, new scene, okay, take off unify, or symmetry. We're going to go to paint. Now on paint, I really like this as a painting program. You can go down to a 256 texture or to a 2048 texture. I've mostly used 512 and 1024, though I have used up to 2048. Because in Unity, the game engine that I use, it has an automatic resizing of the textures. So I sometimes will use a larger texture map, then resize it down. So we're going to use a 1024. We're going to say OK. Type mapping, I don't always use that. This is where it tightened the texture sheet. It doesn't use as much of, but it's better relocating, I guess. It's why I always like it. Now you can make your own custom brushes, like in the modeling, and you can create your own textures, which is very nice. But we're going to do that probably in the second or third tutorial. Now, right now we're going to use paints. Now, I really like this paints, and I've used this to get almost like a pre-sense of what I'm going to model it as, or sometimes it's just, really nice for the shading. You want to do different color, and then what you can do is you can actually overlay several layers. What I can do is that I can do the size of the brush, the strength, this is like in our program, and the hardness. So I can do really low on size and hardness, and I can just do shading, which is very nice. I mean, especially if you want to mix colors. I'll mix a red and I'll take something like a purple, and I can slightly mix it to get something in a almost reddish color. Now material, I can change the materials to see what it's going to look like. Now let's increase the strength and hardness, and we can get a very nice color. What you can also do is create a normal map bump, let's change this to a machine, and we can actually paint normal map bumps. Now I like this too also, because I can go into options, and somewhere in here it says as you paint the texture, it will also paint color and bump. There we go. And it will paint the color and the bump at the same time. Now let's take off. Let's just go back to paint. And it will paint the color and the bump at the same time. Voila. Which is, I guess, kind of nice. I've only used it a handful of times in specific models, but we're going to actually deactivate that right now. So what we're going to do right now is you can also flatten the bump. Say you just want to deal with the texture at the moment. Well, yeah, you can do that too. You can erase your normal maps. You can also fill an area. So we're going to actually see if we can fill the whole thing. But I think we have so many colors on it, it's just going like, what the heck do you want? Wireframe. And it's symmetry paint. This I like also, but since we disabled symmetry in the modeling, it'll disable it in the painting too. New sphere and plane, the same here, and then you can also do a height mask. I've never exactly used height mask before. I've always created a height mask in another program based off the textures. You can save your texture as a JPEG or PNG. You can open a texture map, save the normal maps, save the bump map, export to a Photoshop program, or import from a Photoshop program too. Also you can do paint mask. I think it's light reflection. Also, you can do do you want the glow, or do you want it colorized, which is really nice. Now, what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna allow you some time to go over this, and then you will continue on to episode 2, where we will go into actually modeling. Or not really modeling. I will create we will model a land texture, a terrain texture, which we will, as if you were going to import it into a game engine or into another program, and then I will teach you the ways of, importing it from a high to a low poly, texturing it. I will have a handful of textures, which you'll be able to download, and you'll be able to texture your own land map terrain, and then, create normal maps onto it, so you can play around with that. And then the image levels, like layers of adding on a texture onto another texture to create a very rich and very detailed texturing. But that's in the painting part of that episode. So I hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe. And as always, feel free to ask questions. I am a very avid 3D modeler. I'm still in the intermediate phase, but I really like to share my knowledge that I have gained, and I would like for you to tell me what programs you use, and if you have any questions, please feel free. If you want a specific tutorial, I'll see if I can do it for you, or I can ask a question that you may have. Thank you, and enjoy the tutorial series.